And then the husband cheats on his wife, but uses this extra dick that was not present when the contract for the wedding was signed, for the marriage was signed. Is that we know this is morally cheating. We've all just decided that is morally, it's cheating, it's bad. But in the eyes of divorce court, would that work against him?
That's a very good question. I have to think about that one.
Thank you.
Go make some fucking cartoons, you fucking bastard.
ShockMouths needs to fix the rug.
Are you seriously that fucking naive? And ShockMouths is the expert. He's the boob expert.
I heard his podcast, and it's awful. Don't listen to it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of the ShockMouths podcast. I'm Mitch. I'm joined by our replacement Ripley's today, which are Ripley himself and Miss Perfect Paradox. Hi. But we have a very special guest, TommyC. Hello, sir.
Hello. How are you? Hello to you, sir.
Before I get you to say who is your daddy, what does he do, for the one listener that we have that doesn't know who you are, I just wanted to say that it's been a huge goal of this podcast to get you on. You were the inspiration of starting this because you were running 4 or 5 days a week, which was
at one
phenomenal,
time,
which made me go, fuck, I need to fucking at least do once a week. But, so yeah, it's been a huge goal to get you on, sir. But there's this other thing that you talk about on your podcast, right? Because you're a married guy. I know what this is. I'm sort of married, sort of not. I'm in that in between.
Sort of on again, off.
I know. I'm in that in between. I'm leaving. I'm separated. I'm getting out of the. But you were saying that
getting out of business.
Yeah, I'm getting out of that business. You were saying how as a married dude, you'd still love to be able to go to a bar and pick up women and get them into the bedroom.
Yeah.
And then,
I don't want to.
And then
ruin my marriage.
Just before you fuck, just go.
Sorry, I'm married. I gotta go. Please. I don't think that ever goes.
Oh shit!
I don't think that ever goes away.
Shit.
I don't think that feeling ever goes away for anybody. I'm at the age now where if I was in my 20s or teens, I would look, oh God, that guy likes to have sex. What a weirdo, what a creep.
I don't think
unfortunately, guys, it doesn't go away. I don't think it goes away ever. So yeah, I do miss that part of my life.
Yeah,
but not so much where I want to ruin my marriage.
Well, that was on brand.
That was on brand. I fucked that up. You didn't see at all what I did.
I
blew you up.
Oh, you blew me. Yeah. Oh well, I can't.
Yeah, that's my bad. But I had the visual there.
I didn't see the visual, but I thought it was some kind of montage or something like that.
No, I didn't know. That's my bad. That's my bad. I was
there's. So Tommy, you may or may not know there's a running joke, semi not joke, that everything that happens on this podcast is a fuck up.
Yeah, and I just fucked that up. I was I'll fucking we finally got him on. I'll fucking then say, which is true, it was a huge goal to get you on, and then I'll bring up how he wants to do that, which is. And then if I blow him up straight away, it would be kind of like that, how he's always wanted to get a woman in the bedroom. I'll just go, get the fuck out.
Yeah. It was me getting out. It wasn't her. I would have had to done everything perfect and then walked. That was the idea.
Oh, I thought you were gonna kick them out.
It was a joke I wrote, but there's some truth to it. That it would be fun. I heard Dave used to say to me, Dave was in bad shape 10 years ago. He was pushing 400 pounds and in a wheelchair, and I'm generally surprised. I said this before. I'm generally surprised that Dave's still alive. He really turned it around. He lost, hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And he's still in a lot of pain, but he kind of turned his life around. But he would say to me at a poker table, why be in agonizing pain because of this disability that he acquired in Iraq. I go to any bar in this town and pull out pussy just like that. No problem. He'd look me right in the eyes and say that. I'm like, you can't stand up. I could still do it.
Wow.
I don't know if you've seen, pictures of Dave when he was, Dave is a very, very good looking dude. Not to say, I guess fat people are good looking too, right? When Dave was in the army, he was very sharp dude. And I was a little embarrassed to say when my wife found his marriage photo when we went over their place, and I got to be honest with you, she swooned. She was like, Oh, wow. So there probably was a time. I don't know if that time is when he was near death, but it definitely, that's kind of where I got that joke from, because, yeah, it's more about the hunt than it would be almost to close the deal. You close the deal in your 20s, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, that party never goes away. And, that sort of predator never goes away.
Let me ask you this question, because I've been dying to ask you this question, so I got to jump in. And this semi runs into it. So you have this, I guess, kind of golden rule, or this kind of rule that you've gone by, where you don't have any female friends.
No, I don't really have. I have acquaintances. I have people that help me on the news team. I probably would have a female friend, but one of my female friends is 15 years older than me. And I guess the closest thing to a female friend I have is in the newsroom. But I might console a woman, but I won't go much farther than that. I'm certainly, decent and respectful offline. I'm not hitting on my fucking staff and shit when we're working.
Yeah, don't do that.
No,
right,
you're old enough to know that.
Or not even joking.
Yeah, I've heard you before bring that up, that you just don't think that men and women can be friends, and that it's pretty much not a good ididea.
Well, I don't think it can't. I just think it's not a good idea. I just have it. I don't see it like, you go through the stage of high school where you get friend zoned, right? And you start to realize in throughout your 20s that a friend zone is rejection. And when you use, because women are kinder creatures, they're rejecting you as softly as humanly possible, but just the way guys' dicks are made, it's always hopeful. Really,
it's like in Dumb and Dumber. He's like, "Oh, you're saying there's a chance."
And then I dated this Italian girl before I joined the army, and she had an interesting position that I actually sort of adopted afterwards. She says, "You're my man. You don't console other women. You don't have friends. Because you are dedicated to me." And she was not, strangely enough, a jealous person or somebody that, looked at, was very controlling. But this was part of her rules. And I did the same kind of thing you did now. I questioned it. And she started, instead of screaming at me or going in a jealous fit, she told me all the scenarios that I had seen at that point, because I was like 24, that could possibly happen due to this. And then if I noticed when I obeyed that code, so to speak, I had less drama as far as relationships. In fact, I had none. So I when I got married and then remarried, or if I ever committed to somebody and said, "Okay, you're my girlfriend," that's the policy I kept. And I'm pretty much drama free ever since I dated that woman. As far as I don't have drama with women, I don't have problems with women. I get along with women. I work better with women than I did when I was in my 20s or I was dating or something like that. There's always this sort of stress and tension to ask them out. I don't have that. I don't have to worry about that shit anymore. It's the desire for sex is still there. I'm a human being, but it's not pressure anymore. I mean, I remember just after the day after I got back to the army, when I got married, I'd noticed within a month how much better I was working with women, because they weren't an option anymore. It was just the deep, dark feelings. I like to rip your uniform up and stuff like that. Those things, but those things can be controlled. The stress of, I don't want to be alone again for the third weekend in a row, or I don't want nothing to happen. Or that was just gone, and I do one of the strangest things. I go to bars now, and I don't go out with other people. I go with myself, and I listen to music, and it drives people at the bar nuts that want to talk to me, especially women, because I'm quite comfortable with that. I'm quite settled with that. So And I think that's just the best way to do it. I am dedicated to my wife. I'm not dedicated to any other woman, period. That's it. That's the rules. And my wife doesn't even have that rule, so to speak. But I think it's a lot better. I don't think girlfriends are a good idea. I think girl acquaintances. My wife's my friend. That's it. You know, I don't particularly.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, what am I going to do? Like, how many women want to go out and fucking, I mean, I suppose in this world, maybe, but like the video game thing and fixing arcades and, you know, on hockey or whatever stupid thing I might be into. I mean, like, what are we going to do together? We're going to go out and, I don't know, go on roller coasters. I don't see that anything that I could possibly do with the women. With the I do kind of spend this rule online a little bit. But yeah, I'm dedicated to one woman. I've pledged my allegiance to one woman, and I think it's a much better way to live. That Italian girl, by the way, we don't have a relationship anymore, but we send each other's pictures of each other's kids like every September. You know, she went out and got married, and she's real happy. She's got 2 beautiful kids. But that's kind of a break of her rules. So I do bend those rules, I suppose. You know, I think it's safe. She's a continent away, and you know, we can, you know, send each other's pictures of each other's kids. I don't think that's too wrong. But I think if I lived in the States or lived close to her in New Jersey again, I probably wouldn't do that. Yeah. No. I don't think that's appropriate. That's the way I feel about it.
I wanted to ask you about this that you talk on your podcast, because about what would it look like? Like, you talk about how YouTube and Google, they're like so big, they need to be broken up into like 4 companies.
Sure.
I can't picture that in my mind, because here in Australia, we don't have companies that get so big that need to be split up. We get companies that get kind of big, and then America buys them, and then they go over there, and we never see them again. So how would that actually look? You know, how does that work? What are the logistics?
Well, first of all, it would have to happen in the United States, but it would have an effect in Australia, and that just has to do with the size of the company. Well, and I'd argue that Google's too big in Australia as well. I mean, if you just take the 70% market share that they have of ads on the internet, the entire internet, think about that. I mean, you can't, thinking about the size of the internet is probably trying to grasp the size of the sun. You really can't get a grasp. I think even if you flew by it in a spaceship, how big it is. And I think Google's that big. I mean, we've seen 2 examples of 2, if I could probably call it up in front of me. Two conservative Zero Hedge and Federalist, they didn't like their articles. They pulled the AdSense from them. 2 websites, you know, gone, bankrupted. I mean, that's not the job. That's a job of a publisher. I mean, Google is editing other people's websites through the threat of pulling funding. So yeah, I think
how do you feel about the Section 230? Do you think they should be considered a publisher?
I think they should have protections, because here's the thing: if you remove their protection of not being
disaster.
It could be a real disaster. I want them to have the protection, but I think if they continue to do this, I don't know what else you can do besides pull them, because they're actually running around editing people's stuff. They're editing, in Twitter's case, they're editing Trump's tweet. In Google's, if you want to be on the internet and make money, you have to go through us. There's no reasonable other alternative that can make you successful or sustain a business online if you don't go through Google. That is a problem, and Google clearly has a bias and an agenda, and there are things that are kind of above the bar or cross the line, and unfortunately that line is anybody that disagrees with them.
Is Section 230 the one that would allow people to sue social media networks sites?
Yeah, they could. Here's the thing: if I post something,
it's the Children Protection Act.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So if I post something, let's say I post a video of me making a bomb, and I put it in an orphanage and blow it up. Okay, they're not responsible for that. I am, and I think that's fair. I don't they can't control me from. They could take it down, but they can't. I don't think it should be held for responsible for my criminality.
Not a publisher.
Yeah, platform. They're a platform, not a publisher. The problem is when they get into editing, which is the Trump tweets would be a good example. This Zero Hedge and the Federalist being taken. That's editing. That's they're not a platform.
I don't know how much of the Trump tweets are editing. They put a disclaimer on the Trump tweets.
Yeah, but they lead
on him.
They lead. Nah, I disagree, because the Trump tweets have a link, and the link the link is a contradiction to what Trump said. That's an edit.
It has a disclaimer, and it says this is an alternative.
No. If you click, here are alternatives. That's an edit. He's lying. Click here. That's an edit.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
We can split hairs on that. I see it more of a disclaimer on something in which the platform it sees as a public service information.
Well, that's how they say it. The problem is that what they let, what they even led you to wasn't even true. There's no evidence of election meddling or problems with write-in ballots. You have towns in California that have a 120% registration rate. That's unheard of. If 20% show up to the polls in that particular town, that would be amazing. That would be a huge turnout. So the idea that there is no possible way to manipulate elections when there's been several examples of it, and to sit there and say that Trump's
the wonderful thing about statistics is that you can find any statistic to back up any theory that you want.
Yeah, I understand,
really,
but
honestly,
120% registration rate is kind of a hard fact. That'd be different if I'm trying to get an answer for something, like how many people think this and how many people that. You can see how many people are. All right, there is 10,000 people in this town. 12,000 of them are registered. That's a hard fact. That's a hard fact. It'd be another thing to say.
You're saying that yes, election interference can happen, and of course, I mean it can happen, and I can win the lottery. It doesn't
why are we putting a disclaimer?
Happen.
So why are we putting a disclaimer over somebody's opinion? And this opinion can be backed by Trump.
Because it's the president of the United States.
So we should edit the president of the United States. So
we're splitting hairs. I don't see it as an edit. I see it as a disclaimer.
No, I'm completely lost. This is American politics. I have no idea what's going on.
I really like if you go in and you go into his tweet and you put something in there that contradicts what he says. And in this case, his opinion. How could that be anything other than an edit? This isn't true. Go here. I mean, if I was a writer and the editor took that out and says you have to write this if you're going to write that, that's an edit.
This isn't true. I think what they said was that there are alternate information that is available. If you would like to see that, go to this link. If I recall, that's how they said it.
Yeah,
I recall that's how I said that. That's how they said it.
In history, Trump is the only. I mean, certainly, Trump is. Let's assume that it's misinformation. All right, let's just assume we know for a fact that Trump output of misinformation. What precedent does Twitter have to do this to anybody else prior to that? I mean, you're going in the tweet and you're changing the crux of it by putting a link there. I mean, you might want to call it an edit, but it has been edited in the sense that there's a link there that wasn't before. I mean, that is in going about whether it's a platform or a publisher. That's the job of a publisher. Right. That is the behavior of a publisher. Yeah. So that's really my whole point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, okay, fair enough. Maybe a semantic debate about editing, but we have edited to the point to change the original tweet. We can both agree on that. Whether it's considered an edit or not, okay, that's a semantic debate.
But it whether or not you consider it an edit,
it has been changed. Yeah. Whether let's change the word edit. The tweet's been changed.
It's been altered.
The original tweet's been changed.
I can say that it's been altered. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been altered. Okay, we'll agree on that term. All right, tweet's been altered. That's a publisher.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's no longer a platform.
That's a publisher. That's a publisher move, which is why Facebook refused to do it. I think Facebook was following more. Initially.
All right, so we've done yelling about that one. Let's yell about something else. What do you hate the most about the new Star Wars movies? What do you hate the most? I know there's a lot to pick from, but what do
I hate the most? Well, I guess The Last Jedi, like everybody else. I mean, it's I think emasculating. and basically showing him to be a coward. Luke Skywalker is the biggest disappointment for me.
All right, this is something I can jump in on because it's actually one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
Yeah, see, I hate The Last Jedi overall, but the thing that I liked about it, what they did with Luke, which is I know is a really fucking weird thing. Like I like that he was like, yep, fuck it, nah.
Does it make sense though?
Well, Obi-Wan.
I mean, let's take prior personality. Is it would it be that dramatic over a 30-year period? This is a guy that risked his friend's life, his life, because he thought there was just an inkling of decency in his tyrannical, murderous father, and now he's like, "Fuck it."
Well, I mean, looking at it with a clean slate of the 3 movies, having not made the first one, like, would I have done that? No, but like the first movie having been made, and it's now your job to make the second one. Okay, so Luke's been on this island. Why has he been there? Like, why would you have put him on that? What would you have done with him? Well,
I did like this. Here's what I would have done. I would have started the movie from the point where Kylo freaked out, and then joins he would have joined the dark side in the first movie. I think that's a much better story than anything we saw.
Yeah, but if The Force Awakens,
they could have developed it from there.
If Force Awakens, like, completed as it was, and then they come to you and go, right, now it's your job to do the second one based on what we've already built in the first movie.
If the first this past trilogy, like, where did I go from here?
Yeah, where would you go if you were given the second movie of the trilogy, and the first one's already been made?
I hate the first one too, so I think the first one's a reboot.
Yeah, because the weird thing is that they didn't have a roadmap for the trilogy, so they just kind of let them do whatever they want.
Well, the first one was successful, which is essentially A New Hope, which irritated the shit out of me then. And I wouldn't have made the first one. I mean, there's a million things we could have done, and I would have centered around Luke, and then gradually pushed it over, and probably killed off Luke eventually. But the death would have had meaning.
It was a bit of a
and
double.
I probably wouldn't have killed off Han or anything like that. I wouldn't have done anything. I mean, and I probably would have had to kill off Princess Leia. Actually, you don't even have to do that either. With today's technology, I wouldn't have done anything that they've done. If I would, it would have had meaning, and it would have fit their prior character. Well, I would have started off where I would have started the movie with Kylo and Luke
training together, and
then brought the other characters in by the middle of the end of the movie. But they were so hot to make Rey Luke.
Yeah,
and if I had to compare it to like wrestling, it's they're forcing a wrestler down our throats, and when the good guy gets booed. They really didn't do. Who was the actress that played Rey?
Daisy Ridley.
Daisy Ridley.
She, I don't think any of those actors are bad actors. I didn't dislike any of them. But I disliked her character, but I didn't dislike her performance. I mean, I think she did the best she could with what she had, and I would have brought them in eventually. I think they even could have done something where she was, super awesome at the Force, but I wouldn't have made her that awesome.
What would you have done with Snoke? How would you have explained Snoke in the third movie? Like,
I wouldn't have used Snoke at all.
Yeah,
Snoke's unnecessary. I would have done what Jon Favreau kind of did, that and I wouldn't have. I would have made the Empire more like a modern military enemy, more of an insurgency throughout the galaxy. A real pain in the ass insurgency. I wouldn't have made this even more powerful or more militarized than they were before.
What goes into your podcast prep work? Like, how do you prepare for a stream?
Depends on the day. If it's sometimes I do none.
None. So you just have nothing, and you're like, well, we got to do a stream.
Some days.
Click.
Some days, if I think I might look stupid for a minute, and that's not, a lot of people, and I notice a lot, especially going back to the Trump thing too, like an opinion sort of has to be researched, and no, it doesn't, and sort of I don't know, like just a random opinion. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be researched.
It doesn't have to be true.
Looked into or studied. But it doesn't. No, it doesn't even have to be
right
like,
either.
If I say something like, let's say something. Oh, let me say something outrageous. I don't think female comedians are all that funny. Well, that's a statement. Whether it's true or not, it's my opinion. This isn't true. You're spreading fake news, and here's why females are funny. I'm not looking for an answer like that.
That's how I'm promoting this episode on Twitter. I'm taking that soundbite and just tweeting it.
I get it. Actually, I got that. I tell you who I got that from. He did a whole paper on it. He passed away a couple. Christopher Hitchens, the famous atheist intellectual. He did a whole article in Vanity Magazine why females weren't funny. It was partly supposed to be funny, right? But he defended it like he would have defended a political position, and everybody that kind of came up against him was just like destroyed.
Did he mention how sometimes they dress up as Twitch streamers? And
oh fuck.
No, I don't think. I don't think he had passed away just before the Twitch phenomenon.
I disavow those comments by Ripley.
What Hitchens was saying is, if he said something like, "Look, if you don't make a lot of money, if you're not strong, right? There's one thing you can be to stay in this sort of evolutionary game. You can be funny.
Yeah."
And nothing melts a woman's heart by making her laugh. So if you don't got shit and you can't give all that much, if you can't be funny, you're out of the game, boy. You're out. And that was kind of, so there's more pressure on a guy. It's not so much that females aren't funny. There's plenty of females that are funny, tons, right? But
name one.
Women aren't pushed to be funny like men are subconsciously. And I think that, when you have more pressure on any kind of group or individual, they're more likely to perform better than if they have none. But that doesn't mean women aren't funny. Yeah. What it means is it's more the men are the pursuers in most cases. I know some, not all, but in most cases. So that is the one thing, if you can get good at it, and funny is something you can get good at to a certain extent, that will attract people to you. I remember he was big fat. They kicked him out of the army because he's so fat. He, ugly looking Arab guy that I was in the army with. And I have never seen a better ladies' man in my life. I mean, we would go to bars and he would be, within minutes, he would be surrounded by German girls because he was funny and he had a big personality and he made everybody smile and feel warm, and he was engaging and he was smart, right? But he was a fat slob. And he also could dance. I think that.
Yeah, that's probably it.
That helps too. I think that's a subconscious thing too. So I don't like to say women aren't funny. I don't think there's no pressure on women to be funny, as much as there are men. So it in that sense, and then Christopher Hitchens' argument was a lot of female comedians usually resort to sort of lowest common denominator, just like men do. They get crude. That's the easiest way to be funny, is to be crude.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of, women using that thing as well. So they almost have to be men to be comedians.
Yeah.
So are they funny women, or are they funny women imitating men? That's the question. Now, I'm not saying I agree with all that stuff. I'm just saying I thought it was an interesting argument.
I'm so happy as well that you said before that sometimes you go with no notes, because constantly just before we go to record or stream, I'm like, shit, I got nothing here. And Ripley's like, oh no, you haven't prepared. Why haven't you prepared? We need to be professional. You have made me the happiest person in the world.
Sometimes I think that's necessary. I did kind of get off track there. I just realized, depending if I don't want to look stupid, if I want to be on, it could be up to 2 hours. It could be 30 minutes. It could be just 10 minutes and taking notes, whatever was dumped on my plate. And are those times when I want it to be spontaneous and organic. So it really depends on the situation. I pretty much got it mastered.
Yeah.
I would rather, sometimes there's nothing to prep with, I'm not going on. I'm not doing any kind of bit, or in the sense that, or any kind of skit. That's would probably be a better word. I'm not doing skits when I go on there. It's off the top of my head. And even if I take notes, any laughs I'm going to get are going to be off the top of my head or situational.
Yeah. I
trust myself enough. But, I don't, I don't think I could carry a show by just being funny for 2-3 hours straight. With no. I'm not that good. I know there are guys that could do that. Bill Burr can do it. I've seen his podcast. All he does is record it, and nobody's there.
Yeah.
And he's funny from the moment he opens his mouth to the. I'm not that good. I have to surround myself with people and content and what have you. And I think I do a pretty good job. But yeah, there are guys that are just naturals, like Bill Burr, Eddie Murphy, Dave Chappelle. You go right down the list. That are just. It doesn't really matter what situation they're in or what they do. They're funny, and that's something I would aspire to, but I don't think I could achieve.
Yeah. What about when you have a guest on? Do you plan interview questions or anything like that, or do you just kind of go for it?
I do, but I am a notoriously bad interviewer. I think my interviews are garbage. I'm never happy with them. I think I've gotten better. I think I showed a big improvement last year, but I don't think that's part of my. I don't think that's part of my. I don't really. I'm not good at it. I'm not a very good interviewer in that sense. I notice my best interviews is when I have to be really interested in them, and then I could just talk like a human being. Like, I think the Scarce interview might be one of my better interviews. Some of my interviews that got no hits, I think, are really good.
I really enjoyed your conversation about the Onision. Two vets go over the Onision.
But that was an interview, though. I mean, Dave's been co-hosting.
Right, yeah, but it goes over the thing. But it was very much in that kind of style, like with the structure.
Yeah, I knew. I knew that topic back and forth because I spent 8 years with the military, and I was with a guy that I actually was serving with at the time. I think it was a strength. I can't be that knowledgeable in every subject, so unfortunately that the Onision episode, while it's really good and people enjoy part 2 as well, I don't think I can be that strong on everything because my lack of knowledge. The more knowledge I have about something, the funnier or more interesting I can be. But it's impossible when you're doing trending topics to know something like as well as something where you trained 8 years straight in it. I think I mean, I'm going to be interesting on anything probably military related. Yeah. If I've experienced it or trained just simply by, knowledge. But I can't do that with fucking, Cabos getting sued.
If you could go back and tell like your past YouTube self who was like just starting out, what would you tell him in order to give him tips on like to improve
Learn Photoshop
to improve his interview skills?
Interview skills?
Yeah. What advice would you
I don't think there's much I can do about that. I think I'd have to alter my personality a little too much. And all the interviewers I admire don't do shows that I do that are kind of high energy. So I don't think you can do a really good interview and be high energy. And that's kind of the balance that I always have. So I don't think there's really much I could tell that person because like I would say, watch more of this interviewer or that interviewer. And it just doesn't fit what we're doing. So I don't know, I guess the answer to that question. But if I was going to tell a young YouTuber, I learned Photoshop.
Who was your favorite person at interview?
You don't mind if I look? I want to get this right because it's something that's it's not something I've been thinking about. The most dramatic one was Scarce. That's for sure because I didn't expect that one. That's got the most hits.
Good one.
Yeah.
That was it. It was good. It's like I was gonna make it goofy, and then he throws me, and the rest of the time I'm kind of collecting myself. By the way, the 2-year anniversary of that one just went by.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that one too. Let's see the playlist here.
God, has it really been 2 years?
That's flown.
Yeah, I could go through them. Scares. I hate the Sear interview because he had to take a shit the whole time. I found out.
That's flown.
I hate everything interview. I loved it, but I was in that. I'm just not good at it. J Station last year, I thought is an interview I really liked because I think I was able to be really hard on him and still kind of be his friend offline. Here's one, Sino. the New Zealand or was the Australian YouTuber.
Yeah,
I don't know that one.
That's one of my better ones. It's only 30 minutes.
Is he the one that used to be a commentary channel and then he went to ASMR?
Yes, Jojo. Whatever his name is. Yeah.
ASMR.
Yeah.
Maybe I do know that guy.
Yeah. I thought that was one of my better ones, and that's when I wasn't good at all. So I'm definitely proud of that. The Bunty King interview, I watched that recently because I had to do some research for Nick. I thought was quite good. I like the Bunty King interview. The Repsion interview gives me the most headaches because it led into a whole series of drama 6 months later that I would have rather not.
Is that the one that's ongoing right now? With no,
that would be that got me when I interviewed Repsion. That's when the blood sports community noticed me, and I would have rather never ran into them. You know, I think the interview that I actually did the best was most entertaining was Call Me Carson, which was a fucking complete luck out getting him. But I think like his fans really hate it, because I at times I think I made him uncomfortable. But he assured me in a DM saying, no, that's just my personality. I had a great time. So I hope he's telling me the truth. I dug that one. One of the worst was Wavy Web Surf.
Why is that?
Because he was, this is funny because he got 500,000 subs now, like 500,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
All right. He was in awe of me and he couldn't calm the fuck down. And at one point I was yelling at him. And now he's like this big YouTube star. And by the way, a really good friend offline. He's an incredible guy. Was
he just gushing over you?
Little bit. I don't want to go too far because it sounds like I'm a real asshole. Because a little bit. He needed to calm the fuck down. I like the God of Cringe interview. That's up there, but it went too long. I was supposed to blow him up like 15 minutes earlier.
Wait, because that was only 38 minutes, that one. I remember I was listening to that in the car when it happened, and I'm like, really, what the fuck?
30 minutes. You're supposed to be 30 minutes and out.
Because I didn't see the visual. I just heard it because I'm in the car, and then I heard you blow him up, and then it didn't come back, and then music starts playing. I'm like, oh, fuck, I think you just ended the episode. While we're on the blow up, who was your favorite person to blow up? And could you explain, just for those who don't know, what the blow up gimmick is?
Keemstar.
And the blow up gimmick is you got it from like your radio idol, wasn't it? Where like you
who just passed away a couple months ago, Don Imus. I kind of got it from him. He would do it. He'd hang up on people. It's really a tribute to him in a sense. Because I think he stopped doing it at some point. And that's where I got it. But it's funny, like that one, even though it's kind of an old gimmick that I took from a guy that was well in his 50s, at the 50s or 60s at the time when he was doing it, it still kind of holds up. People think it's funny. I noticed like when you have like people coming in and rating, or people that are clearly in the chat that are from outside, and I do it, everybody seems to really that work. I always thought that was the funniest thing when he would just blow up callers or sometimes celebrities even.
We were going to steal that gimmick from you when we started this, because like you were a huge inspiration for getting this one started, and it was called Shocked, and it would be like electricity and shit would fucking zap them out.
That's
and then
a good idea.
but then I was like, you know what? That is just way too close to like a copy.
I wouldn't have said anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
No, it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Plus, like, we're so small, like we don't need to blow anyone up. Like
yeah.
we get one
background. Man, I would do anything to blow up Keemstar. I bet
radio gimmicks are kind of they're not like copyrightable, I suppose. So I think that I noticed I lived between New York and Philadelphia growing up, and I noticed they were stealing from it. Like when I have to do something in South Jersey, I'd listen to the Shock Jocks or the morning zoos they had, and it was the same shit with different DJs. They're all ripping each other off, and
they were inspired. Yeah. They were inspired.
They were ripping each other off. The radio guys are the worst. Radio guys are worse than comedians as far as ripping people off, for sure. But that's it.
When are the Australia friendly streams coming? I think it's been 18 months since you were like, you did your last one.
It.
And yeah.
Oh, it's been 2 years. I was checking. I think it was 2 years.
No, it was February 18th. Oh, shit.
Well,
yeah, 2.5 years.
Probably,
fuck.
if it's been 2 years. I was thinking that the other day. The problem with that's normally, I've changed it recently, but that was normally prep time that I was doing. And now I'm doing the videos on top of that. So it's become a lot more difficult to put something together. And the times where I was able to do them because there was enough content there or something happened overnight, it was just too short a notice for everybody kind of to help me out or really just go on very it was just too short a notice to tell the audience like, okay, we have an Australian stream. It's 2 hours. I don't really like doing that, but that might be the way it has to be if it's ever going to happen. I've noticed. I think a planned ones just don't work.
Yeah, I think the Australian audience would
I get up in the morning. Here's the problem with Australian stream. I get up in the morning, and I probably only do them on Wednesdays, because that's the day I'm not allowed to work. So yeah, the problem with them is I plan one, something else happens when I wake up, and I have to gear it towards this and that. It might take longer than. We don't have enough time to get it up, to get something up or what have you. And I don't want to just start talking unless I'm feeling talky. I've been taking a lot more shows off if I know that my head's not in it, or I have something to do. Like, I used to do, you said 5 days a week, and then I cut it down to 4. Or I cut it down to 3, and now I cut it down to 4. But there doesn't seem to be enough content out there to do. I mean, as of a month ago, we had plenty, or at least one big story that carried. There's a real content drought right now. And I've never seen
Gabby Hanna tomorrow.
I don't know what there is to say. I suppose, and maybe because I have a little more competition than I did. I have Tipster and Augie. If I feel like they've covered this, this is a problem I never really had before. If I feel like they've covered the death out of it, I don't. And if I feel I don't have anything to add, like that would be a good one. That's a really good example. I don't really think I also think she might be actually sick, and maybe I'm getting a little
up here,
gun shy in a post-Etika world. I mean, it's one thing, like if I said something about Gabby and she ended her life, by no means am I responsible. And I would state that clearly and unapologetically, but that's not going to save my channel. The backlash for that would be likely something that might be unrepairable. So, but in principle, I feel like I could say anything I want to get Gabby Hanna, and because I don't think any words put people over the edge unless you're like right in front of them and you're like, do it. I think that would be a different scenario, and a unique one. But the idea that I could be held responsible, sort of like Keem was, for an off-colored comment, or maybe a razor sharp criticism, like. Is something to the fact that you need to get over yourself. Your arrogance has consumed you to the point of what appears to be mental illness. You were never that important to begin with. You just thought you were, and now you're finding out, like most people in your space, that their time comes and goes, and you don't even have the humility to accept that. If she kills herself after I say something like that, you're gonna see that on Twitter. They're gonna take that clip. They're going to do a lot of things with it, and it doesn't change the fact that I wouldn't be responsible, but it doesn't. The perception would be that I would, and it might be tough to overcome. So I'm not really motivated about talking about Gabby, because I am detecting a little. It might not be her fault, Yeah, that's I'm detecting it. But I say that now, and I might roast the fuck out of her tonight. If she says the right thing, or I see the right thing on Twitter, and it gets my blood pumping, and then I start sort of, most of the jokes I come up with is when I kind of like zone out and fantasize. If I start fantasizing about like what I'm going to say in the show, which happens a lot. That's where like I fantasize about doing a show, and then that kind of comes to fruition. Then I'll roast the shit out of her. I don't really give a damn, but I'm not feeling it with Gabby. I haven't been feeling it a lot lately. I haven't been feeling it a lot. period. So that's where I stand on that.
What is your opinion on the popular video game that we have come to know as Minecraft?
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with the game. I think it's pretty brilliant. It's a brilliant game. It's if I had to put it, I would actually put it on a top 10 list, most influential games of all time. If I was going to make a top 10 list, but me personally, I just I didn't like Legos when I was a fucking kid. Why would I, why would I be interested in doing that now? And
fair enough. I love how I throw these stupid questions and you just take them like so like serious. You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I was just supposed to do.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I never know what people wanted, if they want the act or if they want me. I decided on me on this one, but
oh shit.
I
should have said something.
Yeah, maybe.
My bad.
Yeah. I never know. Well, you might not be able to do anything about it anyway. But no, I just maybe it's because I went out last night and I'm not.
Yeah.
I haven't been feeling very goofy lately. I guess maybe that's my problem. I'm a little bit of a rut right now. So you're catching me in a bad.
Well, I'm gonna ask you like the most goofiest question that we ask everybody.
Sure, I don't care.
This is the one that we ask everybody, and I think you're gonna be the last one because some people have actually got upset about this one. Oh, MVP knows what I'm gonna fucking ask. That's why she's giggling.
I apologize in advance, Tommy.
Okay.
If now you're a married guy and you like legal proceedings and court proceedings and all that kind of shit, right? So if scientists could grow, all right.
What?
Let me just reword this. So when you get divorced and like the things are getting split up and bad things that one partner did could work against them in a court of law or the court of law, the divorce court. If scientists could grow an extra dick. And they grew this extra penis after the wedding, after the contract has been signed. And then the husband cheats on his wife, but uses this extra dick that was not present when the contract for the wedding was signed, for the marriage was signed. Is that, we know this is morally cheating. We've all just decided that is morally, it's cheating, it's bad. But in the eyes of divorce court, would that work against him?
That's a very good question. I have to think about that one.
Thank you. Some people are like, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard.
I do know. The laws of wife say no. That's a pretty easy ruling. No, I don't think that would stand in court. I think an appendage, even if extra, like let's say that. Let's say you stroked a woman's bottom. That could, that's considered cheating. It's not actually engaging in intercourse, but if you did it enough and it pissed off your wife, she might introduce that. And that has nothing to do with dick. That has absolutely nothing to do with the dick at all.
Yeah.
So I think that no, I don't think that's
it's not a good defense.
Even in court, yeah. But even if you grew another hand, it's still
so that's what other people have said. Like Coolio said last week, like it's still your DNA. It's your DNA.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Mm.
Did you guys have?
Sorry. My advice is, learn how to dig. Buy some stuff that keeps stuff off your clothes.
Learn how to dig.
Read a lot of crime novels. Buy a boat if you can afford it, and then work in a butcher shop part time. That's my advice for divorce. You're very strict on the questions. You should. When you write the question, I'm going to lecture you now.
Yeah, do it. Yeah,
when you write the question, you should be able to make questions off those other questions.
See.
And then come up with your own other five.
This is what's funny. But this is what's funny. I never have questions written down. This is the most planned I've ever been. Like I always just fly off the seat of my pants.
Even funnier is that Ripley gave nothing but kudos to Mitch that he was completely prepared for this interview.
Yeah, and I'm always like, no, I just want to go by the seat of my pants. And Ripley's always like, no, you got to be planned because this is like probably the biggest one we've ever had.
I think
I'm like, fine, I'll be
medium.
planned.
I think you got to find a happy medium. I think with me,
It's not what I said.
That is what you said.
Okay. No,
I have
no,
the
it isn't.
transcripts. I have the receipts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's I guess the trade. This is always it's this kind of stuff's still a battle for me in some aspect, even though I might not seem it. Take what you do seriously. Don't take yourself seriously, especially if you're trying to do funny.
Yeah.
Because you take what you do seriously. You're on time. You have this plan. This gets done by this time. I don't really have too much of a problem with that, right? But as far as like it has to be done because we have to look good and we have to appear. I don't know if that works on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't think that works on YouTube.
See, usually I try to go for the funny, but today, apart from that opening, I've just been like, no, I'm just gonna fucking just chill out, just let this.
Well, I kind of like being challenged before, on my opinion. That rarely happens. I usually just get an idiot calling me, yelling at me so that was interesting to me. I know not, I grew up in a family where there were, union leaders and shit, and everybody's arguing about politics at the table. So I'm comfortable with that. I know that's not for everybody, but I think MVP challenging me was probably the most interesting part. I enjoyed.
She does that to everybody. Don't be flattered.
She should. She should.
Do that to everybody.
Yeah. She should. And everybody listens like, that bitch. She better shut up. God damn it. Let that guy talk. No, I think that. But I mean, even like that. Let's say you're listening that kind of reaction. You're listening a reaction. Most people who listen to Stern, reportedly, the people that hated him listened longer. Because people love to be outraged, even a subconscious level.
You know what outrages MPP is? When she'll sometimes message me and she'll want my opinion on something, and I don't know anything about it. I'm like, listen, I don't know anything about that. I don't have an opinion. And she's like, she wants to have like a fucking conversation. She'll be like, oh, for fuck's sake, why am I bothering? Why am I wasting my time?
I used to get angry when people didn't have opinions. People didn't really have opinions.
Yeah, like, have a fucking opinion.
No, because
you know what I know? Not everybody's built that way. Not everybody's built that way, and maybe it's actually probably better that they aren't.
Well, she'll come to me. She'll come to me saying, "Oh, someone in Donald Trump's administration did this," and I'll be like, "I don't know who that is, nor do I care." Fuck. I think
he has no idea about American politics, and I have no idea about Australian politics.
I would do that too when I was a kid. Like, I would drive everybody crazy too when I was in my 20s. I was like, oh well, Clinton said or what have you, and you realize that most people don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
and there's also this tendency to say. So, well, that's because they're stupid. No, it's because they're not interested.
Yeah, I used to be.
Sorry, you go. I had a college professor saying, that whole saying, well, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain. What if your lack of voting is a political statement in itself? What if you can't bring yourself to vote for either person? So you abstain.
Well, we have
because that's.
We have compulsory voting out here, but last
outrageous.
election.
That's actually, I think it's outrageous civil rights.
Yeah,
I think that's a violation.
But last election was the first one where I just didn't I still went, got my name marked off, got the ballot, and I drew a big dick on it, a real big detailed dick. But I had to make sure no one could see that I was drawing the shape of a dick, because the seat that I was in, the seat that I was in was held 70% by Labour, the Labour Party. So I was going to vote for them anyway, but. Fucking there's no way they're losing that seat. There was no point me showing up to fucking do that.
Well, I think in that situation, probably I think you have a moral obligation to participate.
Yeah, but the Labour leader was a fucking idiot. I didn't like him.
But if you can't vote because I think if you can't vote because you can't bring yourself to or let's say you think the election is rigged. Right. There's another problem with compulsory voting. I think that increases the opportunity, just by what you just said, of fixing an election. You just went in there and you drove a big dick on it. Who's to say that somebody didn't fucking, somebody didn't mark the ballots for you after that? Let's say you just went up to a big dick on it and you didn't check anything off. Well, hey, guess what? You just got to vote for what's his face.
I don't know how it works in America, but like in the voting rooms or whatever, when they close off at 6:00, the doors are locked and everyone inside, they pour out the ballots, the officials start counting them, but each political party is allowed to have representatives in the room, scrutineers, to make sure that everything's being done properly. And
we can't do that in the States because you have entire areas that are completely Republican or completely Democrat.
So you don't do that.
I don't think you can. I've never worked on. I mean, most people that do that type of stuff, they're volunteers.
Oh yeah, they're all volunteers.
Yeah,
they're all volunteers, and they might have some. I think I would say most of them probably have the best of intentions, and this is their way. This is a public service, a needed public service.
That's how everyone's journey in politics starts. It's the best intentions.
Yeah. Well, now you get these people in their 70s and 80s doing shit, so there's no political payoff for them.
Yeah.
By let me see your ID or this, that, and the other thing. But no, compulsory voting bothers me. I think it's a civil rights violation. How could somebody make you sign something?
I think
that you don't want to sign.
It's a very old law that they brought in when the country first was founded in 1901. We had such a small population and we were all criminals and we didn't give a shit. And I don't think anyone was really voting. So they're like, that's it. You got to vote. It's the law. And they just haven't updated it.
Why would you want a bunch of criminals to vote? It's only 1901?
Yeah, that was when we federated. We were just a bunch of colonies before that. Yeah.
Why did the English let you do that? How did the English let you do that?
I don't. Well, I think the UK Parliament was allowed to override Australian laws up until about 1984. They passed something called the Australia Act. Both the UK Parliament, the Australian Parliament passed it simultaneously because they didn't know who had the authority to pass it first. But it basically says since 1984 or something, they can no longer override our laws
at all. Yeah. It's not like they were doing it to begin with, but they had the option.
Yeah.
Well, the Canadians can still be interfered with.
Really?
Yes, they can, but it's one of those things that the Queen would never do a damn. They would never do it.
I think the Queen can still I think the Queen can still sack the Prime Minister, but she just doesn't because that happened one time and didn't go down so well. we still bitch about it. That was in 1973, I think.
Really? Did Queen Elizabeth?
No, actually, well, it wasn't her. It was her representative that she has here, the governor.
Yeah, but he was still sacked. It was
He did it on her behalf. It's fucked. The whole system's fucked.
Oh, wow.
So
that's that I want to see. Yeah. I want to see a YouTube video on that.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
I know if Parliament goes to a tie, the Queen could break it.
Oh, really?
That really happens. Yeah, in the UK,
she also can't commit a crime. She could kill someone in the street, and they can't do shit
for her.
I also know, I'm not sure whether she's allowed to do it here, but in the UK, she can just go, "This is my house." You could just go to some random person's place and be like, "Thank you, goodbye."
I didn't like her very much until I saw that movie, The Queen.
Oh, the movie, not the Netflix show.
No, I don't watch the Netflix show. I thought that most of these movies about the Queen or their criticisms are good. They're by labor types, and they all kind of have an agenda. I didn't think this was agenda driven, and I think it was critical of her, the system, and also of labor as well, to really kind of form a realistic picture of the whole situation and the reason for the monarch in the first place. It's really strange. Like when you're taught as an American that there are kings and queens in England, it's like, but as I've gotten older, and I understand the monarch's history a little bit, especially after World War II, I think they're quite important, and I would consider myself a pro-monarch. I wouldn't be against stripping her powers away as far as any realistic powers, but I think if that was ever taken away, I think a part of English culture would be lost. It would probably not be good for the country, especially in time of emergency.
Do you know what's happened?
And
sorry, you go. Keep going.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
You know what's happened out here? You know how like they're tearing down statues and shit everywhere to, you know, I don't know why. But this week there was a beer that had to change its name down in Melbourne from Colonial. It was called Colonial Beer. Now they're going to change their name.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I made a meme about this, but I deleted it 5 minutes later because I'm like, no, I don't want to fucking cope with that fucking bullshit because I come from the SJW world. I used to kind of be one. I ran for city. Really? I ran for city council on the Greens.
Let me ask you something. You got divorced, and that changed everything. No.
I think it was you.
That'll fix your ass.
You were the first person that I started listening to that wasn't left leaning, and you were the first person that would say something that like I didn't necessarily agree with, but I went, you know,
because I'm left leaning. In a lot of socially, I'm left leaning. Some of probably more palatable.
But some of the right leaning things you came out with back like 8 years ago, I would have been like, oh, I can never listen to this man ever again. But like, you were the first where I went, you know what? I'm going to disagree and keep listening.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and
I don't. One thing I mean, I'm not saying I've never said anything like that, but it was mostly in jest or. Mostly in jest. I'm not one of those people that says if you don't think that I think what I think, you are a horrible human being. Now I may make jokes to that effect, so I'm sure you could find something, but I don't think I don't go away thinking that you have to feel the way that I feel, or you're an idiot or what have you. I mean, I think if you say something idiotic, you're an idiot. Not that you just disagree with me, and it's kind of a problem in general in across the Western world. What did you say, MVP? I'm sorry.
That comes across.
Yeah.
I think that's why I have so many left-wing people, and I had to become less of a right-wing asshole over time.
Speaking of left-leaning people, what am I allowed to ask? What happened to Tobes?
What happened to Tobes?
Yeah.
You're allowed to ask. I don't have to answer.
He just disappeared.
I don't want to. I don't want to do this without hammering him because I don't consider him a public figure.
Yeah,
and I don't think that's fair. And I do tend to draw the line there. Yeah. In that case, unless you're putting videos out on YouTube, in which case you're game.
Because
he doesn't do videos,
does he? He doesn't. That's why Tommy doesn't want to like slag him because he's not a public figure.
Oh yeah, then no.
One of my favorite times in the show's history is when Tobes and Verse were together. I think it was one of the best lineups we ever had, and they were consistent and they were funny. And Tobes is a funny guy. I think, and we made allusions and jokes to it in 2018. I think Tobes did something where he sort of subtweeted me, and the subtweets were it would have made me like if it were true, it would have made me a monster for some of the things I reportedly said. Now he didn't tag me in them, but he was taking part of quotes that I said in the newsroom and straw man, like then setting up a sort of straw man to knock it down. And there's that famous clip on our show, "Don't Bother Coming to Germany." I lost it, and it wasn't an act at all. I thought that was really, really, really shitty. And on top of that, we didn't agree to disagree after this particular conversation that we took out of context. He actually said, "Yeah, I guess you're right," because I showed him like some kind of article or something like that. And then 24 hours later, there were parts of what I said, and the end of the sentence would have been, if I had said it, I would have been a raging bigot, and I don't appreciate that.
Fair enough.
And that was why we let Tobes go. And I think that is partly due to the fact that I don't think Tobes has a political ideology. I think he's involved himself in a sort of more of a lifestyle that is heavily political. And I think it more represents a cult than it does an ideology.
Did you say on the podcast that he was like being let go, or was he just? Because I just remember that was one of my favorite ears.
Oh, he got. Well, he wasn't working out as it was, but there was no problem with our friendship because we couldn't get through an episode where he wasn't lecturing. I would do a dad joke and he would start to dissect it. No, don't say that because this is what this means. And this way. Or I would make a joke that would probably please a right-wing audience. Well, that's not true because and it just sucked all the funny out of the room. At very least, if I say something stupid, sort of in, I don't know if you had that show All in the Family, like in Archie Bunker way, sometimes that's deliberate. Doesn't necessarily, mean that I mean this verbatim. But there are also a lot. I do have a lot of left leaning people, but I think the bulk of them are right leaning, or they don't give a shit. Yeah. And they like to hear those jokes because there's no better way to, especially now, there's no better way to go up against the establishment to make jokes about liberals or liberal sacred cows. The biggest one being BML right now. That is going against the grain. So whenever I would do something equivalent to that, I would say, well, this is why your joke is not true. But the joke is neither true or false. It's joke, and there was a lot of, so we started cutting down his time. And then the bulk of our news meetings were lectures about his ideology. So it was like being, I don't know if you guys had these, like when I was growing up, these really annoying old ladies that just constantly go on about Christ and Jesus and how you're. And then if you're nice to them, then it's like, well, if you don't do this, you're going to hell. I mean, that's pretty much all I could hear after a while. If it was just, you're going to hell. And then, he would, one of the things I wish I could find the episode. We were goofing on. We made a t-shirt, calling him a commie. I've
got that one.
And
I wear it all the time.
You got that one. I like that. We had that. And I remember one thing I mentioned is like, this is pretty extreme considering where you were last year on this kind of stuff. And he says, well, one thing you don't have to worry about. I wish I could find this episode. I will always be a heavy pro free speech guy. Okay, so he's a liberal, but a heavy pro free speech guy. And then he openly called for the deplatforming Crowder, unapologetic. And so he can never really be back. I don't think that's ever going to happen because that's something we couldn't have. It's not that his political ideology, I don't think anybody on my show wants to hear about a deplatformer. I think that would be a betrayal to my fans to platform somebody who openly wants to deplatform over a period of time. I could put a deplatformer on and argue with him, but to have one as a part of the team would not work and would send a mixed message that I don't want to send. And I think my fans would absolutely completely reject. That being said, I don't think he's a bad person. He's a little lazy, but I don't think he's a bad person. I'm lazy too when I was his age.
I was going to say, I think humans are inherently lazy, aren't they?
I think he's caught up, and fortunately or unfortunately, he's going to piss off the wrong person in that group, get some free thought, and it's happened to him before, from what I understand. He's going to learn. Yeah, he's going to learn the hard way.
Tobes reminds me of me when I was in my early 20s. I was very, very much the same, and then I realized like I had no one left because I'd cut everyone out of my life that didn't exactly align with my views. He's going to learn that.
That must have been
it was a wake up call. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that he has, because I mean, I know people that generally like him, but just like, boy, he's tough to be around now, and yeah, I who said that once is Anita Sarkeesian. She had, she said something in an interview once that I found it like horrifying, and not horrifying for the word. She said horrifying for her. She said something like, when you start into this, and what she meant with social justice, you're going to piss off your family. You're probably going to lose a couple friends, but it is so rewarding, right? Wait a minute. Like your friends, your family, like they have to be politically aligned with you. And I mean, I thought that was like sad.
Yeah,
that's sad. And I think a lot of people on that side, not everybody, I think a lot of people on that side of the aisle that make their, my politics are for when to discuss politics. It's not, I don't live for it. I don't live it. I like discussing it. I'm probably a lot like MVP. I like when people have opinions, and I like to be challenged, and I like to see certainly the people that I disagree with the challenge. That's engaging, entertaining, but it also is not as important as you think, because you said you called Mitch before, and you said something to the effect of, "Why don't you have an opinion in this?" It's important not to let that get to, and I see this happen a lot on both sides of the aisle, by the way. The person without the opinion becomes a lesser.
Oh yeah. Just because he doesn't have an opinion on something, it doesn't really matter. I give more shit about it than anything.
But let me think, I am not lecturing you. I am not lecturing you. I still make this mistake. I'm not lecturing. No. If anybody, I'm probably more like her than anybody else in the show, and just the way I feel about things. But it's just like, when
we're the same generation too, Tommy. So
okay, so yeah, so like you don't want to chase everybody out of your life just because they have a different opinion of you. And one of the reasons I probably didn't bag, like if I was younger, I would have kicked Tobes to the curb long ago, but I just didn't want to lose him as a friend until he, I think, started upsetting the balance in the newsroom. And it just didn't work out. And in fairness to Tobes, he was the punching bag in the show, and that was his role. And when he did it, he played a great job. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody certainly got to do it, and he didn't want to do that anymore. And that's fine. I respect that. Everybody's got the role. And when you come in, you may be a punching bag, you may not be a punching bag, and he did a great fucking job, and he got a lot of laughs, and he wasn't well accepted when he first got in, and he turned a lot of people around, and he had great chemistry with, because he's naturally a funny guy. We had a great chemistry with somebody who's like he's just blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy, and then there's this gay Arab from Middle East. Couldn't be two different people, and just so he's a really funny guy. So I didn't really want to like toss him. I was like, well, I'll just keep him around the newsroom. We'll probably find something. He'll probably find something. But it's just it got a little hairy, and I think he made some of the mistakes that I had done in the past. So yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't particularly. He came back and did a game stream. We had a great time. A couple months ago.
I still got a problem with you not burning cards like you don't burn cards.
What do you mean? Burn cards. What do you mean?
Oh, those I have nothing. I have nothing to do with those games. I have nothing to do with those games. Actually, it's not really necessary. If you think about it, it's not necessary if it's digital.
I know, but it's standard practice, and it just drives.
No, I understand that, but I don't run those fucking games. I don't run those games. And if you noticed, I finished second place in every tournament I was in when those guys, right? They finished first, you finished last. I am a much better card player than all of them. All right. And I would have done that, but it's just a pain in the ass when you have to do it with your mouse. I would have set that up a little different. I would have set up a room in Poker Stars. Where we all can.
Tommy, have you ever got a royal flush in poker?
Yes, I have, and I have a picture of it.
Did I tell you the time I folded a royal flush? And I felt so sick. I was playing Omaha. It's the only time I've played in Omaha, and I had.
Oh, that makes sense. But I can see how you can do that.
Because I had the two cards. I put them in two different sections, and I was looking at. King Jack offsuit, Jack something else like. And then out on the board was the flush, but I was looking at the wrong fucking cards. And then the guy turns over a full house, which was bigger than the full house I thought I had. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to embarrass myself. I'm going to fold. And then he said, as it touched the muck, if you had King Jack's this suit, you would have beat me with that royal flush out there. And I went,
King Jack.
Oh, shit. And then I turned it over. And they're like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, I understand. It's folded now. It touched the muck. I understand. But
it's hard to remember. It's hard to memorize two cards. It's really
I went on to come fourth. I came fourth in that
Well,
tournament.
the other crazy thing is, I didn't see my first straight flush. I want to say 2009.
Oh yeah.
I not see. They're more common with games that have community cards, obviously, but I have seen a straight flush in 7-card stud, which is really freaking rare.
Are these online? Can you play these online?
Very.
I think I saw the 7-card stud Royal Flush online.
Here's another thing.
I did see that one.
Here's another thing you're going to hate about Australia. We can't play that online anymore as of, I think, 2016. Well, no.
As of 2012, the United States couldn't play it either.
Can you?
They shut it down in the United States.
But it's back, isn't
Obama.
It's back.
Yes, but
In
that's
certain
nowhere near
states. In certain states, you can play
certain
online.
states, it's much different. Nowhere near as good. Probably a lot more corrupt. The Obama administration, they passed a law during the Bush. It was a Bush law, but Obama enforced it. And
was that because of the laundering?
It's debatable
from
whether
Full Tilt Poker.
That was found because of Obama.
Yes.
That had nothing to do with their initial investigation. So the law essentially says this: games of chance are illegal in the United States. That now. What Full Tilt Poker and PokerStars said, we're not games of chance. And you could make a mathematical argument that's the case. It is not a game of chess, that we're like chess. You can have chess tournaments online for money. We have poker tournaments online for money.
I'd say it's 50%.
So
it's
strangely, I don't think it's 50-50 now. I don't think, because why do the same guys finish in the upper end of the fucking World Series every year?
Fair enough.
that goes far beyond odds. You know, that goes far beyond. Hey, look, you could be one of the greatest players in the world and go through a run where you're losing for 2 weeks straight. But over time, that's not going to happen. You know, over time, you're going to get the most money.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that's possible. Is it as skilled as chess? No. But is it? Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get in that argument. But anyway, their position was, we're games of skill. We don't fall under. We don't fall under this law. Kind of daring the federal government to do anything about it. And the Bush administration did nothing about it, strangely enough, after they passed this law. They didn't go after, they didn't warn them. In 2012, I think it was called Black Friday, 2011, excuse me. Oh God, it's almost been 10 years.
Friday.
They had Black Friday where they ran in and they busted Full Tilt and they busted PokerStars and a couple other things. And then they found the money laundering in Full Tilt after that. They found that. So that really one thing had nothing to do with the other, but it did make the case. It helped the government saying, okay, this whole thing is crooked. But I mean, you could see that could easily happen at a bank as well. I don't think it had anything really to do with poker, so to speak. I definitely think they should have been regulated or maybe reined in a little more. But what they ruined poker in the United States. They ruined, after the 2003 World Series. It had such an impact. It was becoming a sport, and it became an e-sport, a high-end e-sport, and they ruined it all. I mean, they just absolutely ruined it all. With our, this kind of goes back to the, we have a lot of nannies. We have a lot of in the United States. We have a lot of people who like to tell others what to do. It goes really all back to prohibition. We have a lot of people that like to no.
Is it like
certain places you can't drink on Sunday in the United States, still, and this is gambling, drinking is a part of that. And you just don't see that in Europe. I'm very surprised it happened in Australia. But whenever I hear something out of Australia now, they seem to be more of a nanny state.
Oh yeah.
Every year. And when I think of Australians, I think of Outback. I think of surfing. I think of people that have sort of extreme, sort of super macho men lifestyles. And then when I see Australians, hey motherfucking Paul Hogan,
hey, they are in Newcastle where I am. Not me though. Not me. I'm not. No.
Yeah. So they ruined that. It really didn't help anybody. Great. They found a money laundering scheme. Like they wouldn't have figured that out when the company collapsed anyway. Yeah. It really was about to collapse. It's too bad because Phil Tilt was like my favorite site. I won a couple grand off of Phil Tilt.
I wish I could say the same with that.
My favorite site.
Probably lost it.
So you can't play it all over there.
No.
Anymore. Like I could play over here in Germany because the Europeans are insane when it comes to Vice.
You can. It's just the law says it's not allowed to be regulated. So the regulated ones like Full Tilt won't operate out here, but the dodgy ones, they will. and they're no good.
No,
You got to stay the fuck off those.
And then you gotta, So that's a weird way to control things. Make them unregulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's they're so unregulated to the point where you can't go in there. Well, I will say this: the great gangster, one of the really, in a sense, founding member of La Cosa Nostra, Meyer Lansky, who went to Cuba and started a gambling empire before Castro took over. He always said the only thing you have to do is have a straight game. Because if you have a straight game, first of all, the house is rigged against you to begin with. All right. Yeah. And that's if the game's on the level. So if you tell gamblers, you're going to get a fair shot here, that's the best way to make money. Whereas, you get these nickel and dime card games going out there and they're rigged against you. That's just bad business. You can only do that once. You're going to shoot that. You only going to fire that one off once. Whereas if you have a regular game and you know how to you know how to regulate it, you can't lose money. There's no way you can lose money unless you're being cheated yourself. So Lansky said just to have a fair game. So if one of those poker companies wise up and become transparent about the software, about things like that, as much as they possibly can without being hacked themselves, that would probably that would give a kind of a boost to poker. But they would have to be really transparent and advertise, we're giving you a square game and we're going to go out of our way to show you.
Yeah, doesn't PokerStars show the algorithm or something, and like they have an algorithm that hunts out cheaters and stuff like that?
You have to be an idiot to cheat at that level with that kind of money coming in. I mean, they make $1 million a minute. I mean, like how stupid do you have to be to cheat when everything's in your favor, no matter?
I think they meant the players. So I think they mean they have algorithms to find cheating players.
No, with a game like poker, yes, but gambling in general. How do you cheat on? The way they cheat in poker is the same way they cheat in esports. It's collusion. Collusion is difficult to prove, but after a while, if you're folding kings to aces, you can pretty much figure it out. So like it's basically I'm on here with you and you don't even have to do the old days. You'd have to do signals. I say to you, I can say I have fucking aces. I was like, well, I'll fold these kings then. They're yours, and then we're splitting whatever your winnings and my winnings are. We're just taking the whole thing. You only need it helps to have more than two guys, but you only need two guys to rig a table of 6 to 8, and you could just cash in. Because they're really you see these games where people you have 5-6 players at the end of a hand. It really should be almost heads up every time before you hit the turn.
Yeah.
Everybody should be out. And if you're getting the tables where you have 5 players still in, then you just have to play. It's boring, but all you do is play top. You don't bluff, and you play top. You only play premium hands.
Yeah.
You play Jackson. You
play
basically
tight.
You play Jack. Not even tight. Not even tight. You don't play. No, I wouldn't say play tight at all, because you want to cash in when it's your time to play. So you're looking for kings, aces, jacks, maybe ace king. My hated it, and that's it. And if you play only those hands in those tables, and you have to do this in a cash game, obviously. If you're playing only those tables that have people just throwing their money out there, or there's 3, 4, 5 guys in the hand by the time the river comes, you're going to make money over time. The odds are in your favor to make money. You would have to literally lose with aces and lose with fucking kings and lose with every single time. But that means you have to fold 97% of your hands.
Yeah.
All you got to do, and then you don't play tight. When you get that thing, you bet heavy.
Yeah.
The reason is they're going to call you anyway. You already seen it. They're at the river in every hand. Yeah. So when you get that thing, you bet, you re-raise, you can do whatever you want with it. You can probably go all in on the flop. They're going to call you. They're idiots. They're idiots. So you don't play tight. You just play premiums. That's it. That's the way.
See, it's always my luck. Somebody's going to get me on the river. Yeah. It's always my luck. Someone's going to hit. Someone's going to hit the river, and my ass is going to go floating down it.
Everybody says that, but you've been told to play premiums, and you've probably played 3 or 4 other hands, or you're playing queens fucking 7 off, or you're playing fucking a pair of deuces prior to that. No, you only play premiums, maybe high end over 7 pairs. That's it. Yeah. Premium pairs. That's it. You literally, if you don't got it, you fold it every time. Right. Yeah. And no matter how, like most people tell, like if you're folding every hand and you finally play one, that should tell the entire table, like, oh, this guy obviously has a hand here. Right. But they're going to bet it's you anyway because they're idiots. So, yeah, if you lose with a pair of aces the first time you bet, well, that's your bad luck. But if you manage your money correctly, I mean, let's say you have a, what do you call it? This is a 10% rule or the 5% rule. Let's say I have $1,000. Right. All right. That means I can only get into games. We could do like that are $100 buy-in. Mm-hmm. Right. Because that means I can go 10 times. Or you can even do more than that. I can only go into games that have a fucking $1 buy-in. And then that's how you do it. If you're good, your money will go up. But you have to keep your poker money separate from your earnings. Yeah. And then you do it percentage-wise. So they all do that. Like if you have $1 million and you can get into games that, that have $1,000 buy-in, or $10,000 buy-in. That's whatever there's your poker money and there's your actual money. And poker money and actual money don't cross. You don't touch it.
Yeah.
All right. Where can people find you? Tommy, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to wrap this up. Where can people find you?
Somewhere on YouTube. Put it in the description box.
All right. It's in the description box below. Thank you very much for coming on, Tommy.
All right. Nice
Thank you so much,
Thank
Tommy.
you so much. Check out.
The best. I'd be happy to do it again sometime too.
All right.
Maybe more in character. Maybe it's more suits what you're doing.
I'll have to remind you next time. That's my bad.
Will do. Take it easy.
See you, Tommy.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you again, Tommy, for coming on. Check out patreon.com/Mickey Mitch for monthly bonus episodes for just $1. Tommy's got up and left, but he did not hang up from the Discord. Thanks for coming as well, Miss Perfect Paradox and Ripley. And
thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'll see you guys in bonus episode.
Yeah, bonus episodes coming this month, like every month. And Ego Raptor, please make more cartoons.
He's just blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy, and then there's this gay Arab from couldn't be two different people, and just they connected.
Are you allowed to say that? You allowed to say
what?
Are you allowed to say
the country? I would hope so. Here's what I'll do. Ready to record this. Middle East. Now just put that right over there.